Fallout Equestria Project Horizons Chapter 5. Work. Step 1, stay alive. Step 2, I don't know. Step 3, profit. So, that's Huffington. The hoof, or the core if you were talking about the inner city where all the technological marvels were supposed to be. Glory filled us in all in the morning as we continued along the decayed road. But now, as it rose into an overpass, I had my first look at the city, and I didn't really like it one bit. The core of Huffington lay on an island surrounded by sluggishly flowing green fluids, swirling with noxious pink containments. With such limited space, the buildings within the core rose higher and higher until the tops disappeared into the cloud layer. Some buildings ended in broken-off spars, while others leaned precariously against their neighbors. Clouds of green clung to the black, crumbling spires as if they were Pegasi in those clouds. Well, good luck to them. The entire core was backlit by a perpetual green glow that pulsed and flickered like a heartbeat. I could barely make out the skeletal remains of a bridge several miles ahead of us beside a large oval structure. On the other sides of the river were the boroughs, the suburban sprawls that had once held the populace. Far less resilient than the skyscrapers of Huffington proper, they formed a thick belt of crumbling buildings and blocked roads. With the exception of the highway cutting towards the core, I couldn't really see a way through it. The river flowed to the north on our left, the sprawl changing into a more industrial-style buildings. To the right were more dead trees and raider territory. I could barely make out the top of a large building to our southwest. But what mattered to the three of us was the massive square building beyond the overpass. The building was surrounded by a berm of scrapped carts, sky carriages, and other debris. 4 large turrets clung to the corners, sweeping their long barrels back and forth. Bright neon lights flickered in the rainy gray weather. Megamart, they said, and beneath that in bright red paint was Finders Keepers. Unless I was mistaken, this was the headquarters of the Finders. We approached under the ominous gaze of the turrets. Each barrel seemed to match for deuce as we walked along the crumbling highway towards the gate. The half-dozen ponies looked boredly at the small trickle of traffic, perked up at the sight of the three of us. "Entrance fee?" a unicorn mare said as she looked over to my barding. Her green hide was mottled with the oddest brown and gray splotches. "We have to pay to get in?" P21 said skeptically.
5 caps a head, 10 per Bessie. Or you can just become a finder for the discount price of 1,000 caps. You don't like it? Pick a direction and start walking,"
she said matter-of-factly. One of the guards looked closer at me, then broke into a grin.
"Hey, wait, Keystone, that's her! That's the security mare!"
The others took note as well and immediately started to chuckle and talk to each other. I could have found DJ Pone 3 and punted him clear over the core. Like they were saying it, I was a super pony.
"Bottlecap wouldn't mind if we gave her a pass."
The camouflage mare looked at me coolly.
"So, she killed those psychos at Pony Joe's. Well, that's not really so much,"
she said as she looked me over. I half wanted to agree with her, and I also didn't want to give up any caps just to get inside.
"Hey, I couldn't just let them hang around along the roads. Pretty sure you folks really need them."
I said if it wasn't anything at all, but from the looks I'd scored a win. I grimaced, not happy with the roll, but if it saved me some money... It looked like I'd managed to say the right thing anyway.
"Go in. Make sure you talk to the manager first. She was talking about you earlier,"
Keystone said as she stepped aside and let us in.
"Fire a weapon and bring the wrath of gun down on you."
"Nice job, security mare," P21 said once we were past as we approached the front doors beneath the buzzing neon sign. I snorted.
"Oh, shut it."
"You can be sore about the reputation or you can use it. Not both," P21 replied casually. I stuck my tongue out at him, much to Glory's surprise. I was surprised to see that the interior more resembled a junkyard than anything else. Piles and pallets of scrap lay in carefully stacked rows. There were perhaps maybe, a dozen booths with vendors hawking their wares? I saw a drum-fed shotgun and promptly started salivating. There was a crude medical clinic set up by the pharmacy, and their advertisement of radiation purging appealed more than the shotgun. A row of cots served as a hotel of sorts, and there was a kitchen. Overhead rested gun and a huge cannon mounted in a ceiling turret. I didn't even want to imagine... Okay, in my imagination the sight of it firing was pretty cool, but I'd be happy putting off witnessing the reality. That thing looked like it fired I-beams. There were also probably as many ponies here as there were in Stable 99. I mean, they moved in small clumps, keeping a wary eye as they looked around. Some were obviously raiders, and I had to glance up at Gun to remind myself to behave. Most appeared to be fairly benign, talking and laughing with each other while they swapped stories and goods. 2 well-dressed fillies were escorted by a dozen bodyguards as they chattered on about slumming. 6 ponies stomping in full power armor were given a wide berth as they seemed dead set on buying every single grenade and missile they could really get their hooves on. I felt a stab of guilt at the sight of 4 crusaders walking out with a bag full of canned goods, though at least they weren't the ones that I knew. It's a regular slice of the wasteland. I wonder where the enclavers are, P-21 said, frowning as he looked at a bin full of grenades.
Where did they find this stuff? Well, pretty much all over.
A lemon-furred, blue-maned mare answered brightly as she approached us. She had 3 bottle caps for her cutie mark, and she wore a slightly off-color navy blue vest with a name tag that read, "Hello, my name is Bottlecap, your Mega Mart manager."
Huffington has many more military bases around it than any city in Equestria, on account of the enemy constantly attempting to disrupt research and development. I mean, after the bombs fell, the Ordnance just sat around in hidden caches and arsenals. We paid top caps for any and all war material.
Her eyes looked at my security barding and she smiled.
Oh, so you're the mayor who cleared the Manhattan Highway.
Okay, maybe there was a security discount or something. I mean, it was the only silver lining I could see.
Yeah, it's not really a big deal, just kinda sorta happened,
I said with an awkward smile. She gave me a very calculating look that made me shift awkwardly.
I mean, they were raiders. I mean, any pony would have killed them. I'm afraid you're mistaken,
she said as she looked at me with a cool little smile.
Any pony would have given them a wide berth while they tried to escort my caravans. You were just the one that shut them down. Perhaps not a big deal to you, but we lost 6 caravans in as many months. Trade to 10 pony and Gutterville was down to a trickle.
She reached into her vest and took out a small plastic bag filled with caps.
So, consider this as a thank you from the Finders,
she said as she tossed it to me with a smile. Wow, very generous, P-21 observed curiously. There was a clear look of suspicion on his face. Was I the only pony in our merry band that tried to look, I don't know, open?
Well, it was a standing contract. I'm fairly sure you'll spend it here, so I'll recover some of it from the vendors, and if it outfits you, well, the more likely you'll bring in more profitable goods in the future,
Bottlecap said, regarding him with an even look as her explanation mollified him. I glanced at my pit book and saw the amount. 500 caps, not counting the miscellaneous junk we'd acquired. I glanced at P-21 and Glory, both of whom were looking around in surprise. I counted out 2 groups of 25 caps each and handed them to Glory and P-21.
So, why don't you two get something to eat and look around? Maybe you'll find some Enclave ponies? Maybe?
I suggested to Glory.
Oh, no, we're not allowed here. This place is restricted,
she said sullenly as she took the caps and turned to walk along the rows. P-21 gave me a curious look before he followed her.
Wait, she's Enclave?
Bottlecap asked with a frown. I nodded hesitantly as she immediately scowled.
Be careful then, you may not realize it. I mean, she may not realize it, but she's trouble. I mean, I doubt she's very dangerous, though,
I replied, and I got a dry look in return. Okay, Enclave is a sore topic. I looked back at Bottlecap and gave her my surest smile.
Sorry about P-21's suspicion, he's just dealing with a lot of pain. It's been a rough few days for us.
Just a few days? Imagine that, she replied dryly, arching her brow in a way that suggested I didn't really see anything yet.
Yeah.
Okay, try not to sound like a complete idiot.
I was wondering if we can maybe get some more information. Information is a commodity like bullets and armor, she answered back. Simple questions are easy enough, but if you're looking for something specific, then it'll be pricey.
I winced at that.
I have a data file, EC1101. I need to find out what it is. Data analysis? Sweet goddesses, you know how to jump to the top of the price list,
she said, looking slightly pleased at this fact. I showed her the file and she frowned at my pit book.
Encrypted?
I nodded, and she closed her blue eyes, swaying her head back and forth a little before she concluded.
Well, 10,000 caps.
She looked at me with an even, sober expression.
That includes our processing fee.
Had her expression been anything but professional and serious, I would have laughed.
Wait, 10,000? If you want a safe and reliable job, yes, I can think of cheaper sources, but they'd more likely shoot you and take the data themselves. If you want to buy an answer, well, 10,000 caps,
she said with a conciliatory smile.
Well, I'm sorry, but that's the honest answer.
Great. The Get the Info Quick plan was just swirling down the toilet. Now I needed to work on a get-rich-quick plan.
Well, thanks, anyway. At least I have a number to aim for,
I said with a sigh. A 5-digit number. I gave my best Nightmare Noon may care grin.
So, is there any suggestions on a way to get 10,000 caps? I assume you want this money relatively quickly rather than over the course of, maybe a lifetime.
Bottlecap asked with an arch of her brow and an approving smile. When I nodded, she looked me over.
Well, competent help always demands a price, she said as she walked into a large bulletin board that was covered with pieces of paper.
Some were printed documents, but most of them were hoof-written.
We don't just find things, we also handle ponies looking for special help. Sometimes it'll be retrieving goods, other times it's contract work like clearing out nests of dangerous wildlife or bounty hunting. Wait, bounties?
I said, and I looked over the papers.
You mean killing ponies for bottle caps? Oh, yeah, that can be quite lucrative, provided you don't mind letting another decide if some pony should, die,
she said as she pointed at a section with a hoof.
Don't let the language fool you. They'll all be described as raiders, murderers, thieves, and killers, whether they are or not. Some aren't, some are. You decide.
I needed 10,000 bottle caps, and in front of me, I had a wall of opportunity.
Thanks. I'll have to read these closely.
Actually, P21 reading them would be a safer bet. P21. I looked back at the yellow mare.
Oh, one last question. My friend was injured a couple days ago, and it's really hurting him, and he's gonna need some substantial healing. More than just a standard healing potion. Magical surgery is almost as expensive as a data decryption and analysis.
She regarded me for a long moment.
However, west of here is the Fluttershy Medical Center. If there were something salvageable, it'll be there. The upper floors haven't really been thoroughly looted or explored. It's a difficult place, but shy of going to the Ministry of Peace's hub in the core, I can't think of any better place that would be available. Oh, well, thanks, Bottlecap. Don't thank me, security. I just gave you a direction. You are the one that actually has to do the work. So, good luck,
she said as she walked off, hailing 2 ponies encased head to hoof in metal armor with some impressive multi-barreled hardware strapped to their sides.
So, welcome, Steel Rangers. Missiles, grenades, or 5mm ammunition today?
So they were the Steel Rangers. Well, it was good to know that Deuce wasn't the only one packing cannons. I stopped by the clinic, where prices were scratched out by a busted slab of blackboard and chalk. Patchwork, 50 caps. Rad Purge, 100 caps. Teeth pulled, 10 caps each. Worm and parasite removal, 25 caps each. Ask about our stock of drugs, certain things to pick you right up. Specials, dash 75 caps. Amputations in under a minute or half off. The doctor, and I use the term lightly, was a scrawny old brown unicorn with a bone saw for a cutie mark and wearing a white coat covered in old yellow stains. I opted for the patchwork and purge special for 125 caps. I unbelted my barding and let the blue and yellow padded armor be lifted from me. Beneath it was my white hide with a road map of bruises, yellow discolorations, angry red lines, and half-hearted strips of medical bandages. My neck still ached from the shots in the school, and my cheek throbbed from Glory's welcoming present. Bonesaw levitated a pair of spectacles on his muzzle as he blinked at my injuries. Well now, some pony's been very busy. Rad burns, beam burns, bullet holes, lots of healing potion fixes. He shaded my eyes with his hoof and gave me a grim nod. Interesting. I've seen eyes like that before.
Wait, really?
Maybe he could fix them? Yep, see him all the time on ghouls, he said with a grim chuckle. Looks like security doesn't come easy.
That's not my name,
I said as my ears folded.
I don't know why DJ Pone 3 called me that, but, I mean, it's nonsense.
He looked at me coolly. Girl, let me tell you, I've been in the wasteland a while now and outlived my children and grandchildren. If there's one thing more precious than clean water and bullets, it's the feeling that tomorrow you're less likely to die than today. Those raiders might be replaced by some other band, but yesterday we nearly had a party when we'd heard that we could send caravans safely to Manhattan again. That might be nonsense to you, but it means the world to us. I didn't know if I should feel encouraged, annoyed, or embarrassed, so I settled with shutting up and letting him get to work. P21 and Glory stopped by, the former sipping water through a straw as the latter enjoyed a sparkle cola. Both of them seemed a bit taken back at the sight of me in my hide. Not that I was too embarrassed about that. I mean, clothing in 99 was a matter of duty, and I had been fine trotting around off-duty with my mark just hanging out. Bonesaw gave me a cup of some chalky gloop as he went to work with his magic. I had to admit, as scraggly as he was, Bonesaw really knew his trade. By the time he finished, I felt like I'd just received treatment at 99's medical center.
10,000 caps?
Glory gaped at the pair of us once my treatment was finished. The doc had given me something called Buck, and I had to admit, I felt more energized than ever. Glory frowned, however.
Is that a lot? That Sparkle Cola was 10 caps, so the equivalent of 1,000 colas,
P21 said calmly. Glory winced.
Yeah, I guess that is a lot.
She then thought for a moment.
Well, there might be a cheaper option. I'm pretty sure that if we go to Skyport, the Enclave might be able to crack the encryption for free. I'm sure that they'd be happy to in exchange for returning me.
She frowned, rubbing her mane as she rolled her eyes a little.
I'm, just a little unsure of how you get to Skyport from here, though. I think it's east-ish? I mean, that's a possibility.
Maybe once I knew more about the Enclave than just two opinions. Morning Glory, I knew, would have happily helped. When I thought about Brawley's last broadcast, the clouds, and what had happened to the Volunteer Corps, I had doubts about the rest of the Enclave. Then I remembered something.
Glory, so who's Rainbow Dash?
Her eyes went round with shock, lips pressed closed together as if trying to keep from blurting something out. And finally she stammered.
Rainbow Dash? She, oh, my...
Clearly this wasn't a topic she expected to discuss.
Well, she was the greatest heroine of Pegasi during the war, but, well...
She looked at me sadly.
When the bombs fell, she wanted us to go down to the surface and help.
P21 looked at her in confusion.
So, what's wrong with that? Isn't that why you're here?
She shook her head firmly.
I want to help now, but she demanded that Pegasi fly down and help despite the magical radiation of hundreds of balefire bombs poisoning the atmosphere. Tens of thousands of Pegasi would have died, or more. I mean, we already lost Cloudsdale, so the Pegasi Council, well, they refused. She left and probably died of radiation poisoning,
she said quietly, looking at her hooves.
Some ponies really respect her for that, but I'm guessing that you don't?
I asked with a little smile. She sighed with a little frown, shaking her head.
If she just would have stayed and listened to the council, she could have shaped things for the better. The Enclave was established to protect the Pegasus ponies, and they do. But...
She glanced around the Megamart.
Well, maybe if Rainbow Dash hadn't left the Enclave, they would have started helping the surface sooner. Instead, she left, and it took 200 years of petitions and peaceful demonstrations for the Volunteer Corps to do what she wanted us to do, right after the bombs blew.
She finished drinking her Sparkle Cola. I had to admit my mane was itching in curiously.
So, what's life like in the clouds?
Again, clearly not a question she expected.
Well, it's different. I mean, that's all I can really say,
she said softly.
We're not supposed to discuss Thunderhead. It's all, classified.
Huh. Well, go figure. Secrets for her, suspicion for him. I could tell I had a long way to go on this whole making friends thing. P21 wasn't even willing to carry a gun. He still saw me as embodying all the fucked up shit he'd endured in Stable 99. Well, time for a topic change, I guess.
So, P21, have you seen their little bulletin board? I'm pretty sure if we can knock out some jobs, sell any salvage we don't need, and then get lucky, we might be able to get 10,000 caps pretty quick.
Quick, hopefully meaning that we wouldn't need months of searching. I really doubted we could evade Deuce that long, particularly if that stupid DJ was giving away my position every other broadcast. I pulled out a couple slips of paper and slid them to him.
I was hoping that you can, help me pick.
Right, get rich quick. That's a plan that always works out. He replied sardonically, but took the papers. Okay, kill so and so. No. He looked at one oddly, arching an eyebrow. Okay, kill and defile. No. Defile and kill? Ugh.
What's wrong with these ponies?
He then frowned as he smoothed out a rumpled note written on the back of a lottery ticket. This might be okay. Some mayor just wants us to collect rad scorpion venom glands.
Oh, to make antitoxin?
Glory asked curiously. Casserole, P21 answered with a small roll of his eyes. Glory mouthed the word in bafflement as P21 went on. Apparently they're delicious and nutritious. She's paying 25 caps each, 600 caps if we can bring her 20. Apparently there's a pit west of here that's just full of them.
Wait, whoa. So, what's a rad scorpion?
I asked, glancing at Glory.
Well, I heard they're like scorpions, like normal ones, only, bigger. Great. So, what's a scorpion then?
I asked with a crooked little smile. Clearly she wasn't used to facing my level of professional ignorance.
Well, it's a bug. Well, technically an arachnid, but...
I stomped my hoof, cutting her off.
Aha! Bugs! I can kill bugs! Bring on the caps!
No moral ambiguity there.
So, what else you got?
He sifted through more. Murder, not enough caps, murder. Oh, wait. Salvage. He lifted up the yellow printout. Iron Shot Firearms RD Center. The poster wants us to get some components from their mainframe. Bonus if we can extract any blueprints still within the system.
Oh, wait! Oh, that's great! So we just get to the mainframe, rip out the blueprints and yank any spare parts, and we just get rich!
I declared, getting winces from both of them.
What?
P21 looked at Glory. Can you remove the parts?
Well, I mean, I know the basics, so maybe?
Glory said with a sheepish smile as she tapped her hooves together.
Probably just better than just yanking them out.
That would be 1,000 caps plus 200 per blueprint, P21 said calmly as he fished through some more. This is a recent one. Time sensitive too. 2,000 caps to remove squatters at Fluttershy Medical Center. My ears immediately perked.
Wait, remove? As in kill and mutilate?
Glory looked at me with some concern.
What? I mean, you've heard these contracts. The mutilation's always implied.
It just says remove. Doesn't say the raider's all like the rest, so it might be legit.
Well, we should give it a shot then. I mean, after that we can poke around. Might find something valuable.
I try to keep my voice as calm as possible, but P21 still looks suspicious. Okay, he usually looks suspicious. I mean, honestly, what was the deal? You round up a guy from summary execution and they never trust you again? Well, if we found something to help his bum leg, maybe he'd start thinking of me as a friend rather than stable reminder.
Okay, so here's the plan. So we stomp some bugs, yank out some wires, and rouse some squatters. I mean, how hard can that be?
I said with a grin at the other two. P21 covered his face with his hoof while Glory clearly seemed to have some doubts.
What?
She just had to say it, P21 muttered.